Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here, and what you're going to hear now in a moment is basically the podcast that myself and the other podcast co-hosts recorded earlier on today. Avatar Online Podcast episode 112, our SDCC 2015 special, where we discuss all of the news that happened over the course of the convention for Avatar, and we also touch on Threadworlds and Geniuses towards the end. So just in this intro before I kind of cut over to the podcast recording, I just want to say, I don't usually upload these podcasts, but I feel this is kind of a special occasion, SDCC. I know a lot of people want to hear some discussion, thoughts on the news that was actually revealed. So you've already heard my own individual thoughts, and here's a more discussion-orientated thoughts, kind of over the course of this podcast with myself, Greg, Kelly, and Troy discussing not just the Comic-Con news, but also some just general Avatar news that came out, plus obviously the Threadworlds and Geniuses stuff. So, hopefully you guys enjoy this podcast. Obviously, it's like about an hour or just over an hour long. I'm going to insert most of the images that we talk about over the course of this video, so you know what we're talking about, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. And obviously let me know if you want me to upload more podcasts to my channel, and I will do that if I feel something is really interesting and worth uploading to the channel. But for now, I'll turn things over to myself from about an hour and a half ago when I introduced the podcast.
You should be happy to know your search has come to an end.
Grab your snacks and grab your kids, because this next match is gonna be a doozy.
Set my lines by the riverbed.
I'm the Avatar! You gotta deal with it!
Kangaroo Island, eh? I hear that place is really hopping.
Fight you. I want to talk to you.
Boo! No talking!
Don't boo at him.
Hello Avatar fans, and welcome to the next episode of the Avatar Online Podcast. This is going to be episode 112 for July 12th, 2015. This is going to be our San Diego Comic-Con 2015 reaction special. We're just going to be discussing everything Comic-Con news about Avatar, plus a few other little bits as well. As usual, I'm your main host, Morgan, Airspeed Prime. Joining me also on the podcast is Greg 2B from the site.
What's up, everyone?
Also joining us is Troy, Trojan People from the site.
Hello, other people.
And last but not least, Kelly, Gemini 530 from the site.
Hi, everyone.
Excellent. So, we'll get straight into the Comic-Con news. Of course, there is the big announcement of Korra Comics, and we will get to that, but we kind of want to go through this in kind of chronological order in terms of how the news actually came out of the convention. We'll focus on the Avatar stuff first, and then towards the end we'll discuss Mike and Bryan's new off-topic projects. So the first piece of news that came out of the convention on the kind of preview night was that at the Dark Horse booth they were showing off one of their new products that's coming out, which is a new Korra statue that's due out in early 2016. No price. It seems like the height is around 11-12 inches. I think it's a little bit shorter than the Aang statue that they've put out already, but it's just Korra in a pretty nice image, a nice pose. Looks pretty good. It's nice to know that Dark Horse are still actually doing stuff. But Troy, what are your thoughts on this Dark Horse Korra statue?
It's okay. I mean, as we discussed before, I don't know if I have space for these, but it is Korra. She's the main character, so and if the price is reasonable, but as far as the statue go, it really does capture her body proportions well, which I really like, and then the material looks nice. So art-wise, it's fine, and we'll see what else comes.
Yeah, for me, it's a kind of odd timing on this, that Dark Horse have announced a new statue given that Wire Industries have just announced that they're doing Avatar stuff. So I definitely wouldn't make any sort of a decision as to, like, if I'm going to get this until I see whatever Korra statue as Wire Industries are actually putting out. But Greg, what are your thoughts on this?
The statue, it does look pretty good. I mean, it's, they're nice sort of iconic pose from the book one, so I like that sort of look that they have going with it, and it does look like it's good material. So, I mean, I wonder how much it'll cost. I suspect it'll probably be, around the price of the other one that they put out. So that might be interesting. But yeah, I definitely would wait for, Zwire's one, because for some reason I feel like theirs would look cooler for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, this looks pretty cool on its own, but I don't know, it doesn't really stand out too much to me, but it is cool that they are actually, putting out stuff, since we pretty much, or at least I know I pretty much gave up hope of them actually putting something out, so that's definitely nice for sure. So I'll have to see how it actually works and whatnot.
Yeah, Wire Industries, I think, definitely just seem like in general they're going to be cheaper than any statue that Dark Horse puts out. But Kelly, any thoughts on this statue?
Yeah, I really like it too, in that, like, I mean, I'm really bad at, size proportion. I have no idea how big this is. It looks fairly big, but not that big. I have no idea. But I agree with what Troy said. It looks nice. it looks like the body type. I like how she's on the rock, in the opening, doing the stairs to the sky or whatever. Kind of an odd lighting angle. I'm I wish you kind of saw a side angle. To me, I'm kind of what's going on here? I don't know. It's very bright. I don't know if that's just me. I kind of wished for a better picture. But, yeah, that seems pretty cool. I feel like it's a good contrast to the Avatar statue poster. If you get both of those, you'd be super awesome because of the opening, how, the statue's in the background and how the Korra is, right next to it. So I think that's kind of cool. If you have both and, you could place them in that way, I think that'd be a kind of a cool... Maybe that was intentional, because Dark Horse did the Aang statue?
Yes.
One? Yeah, then there you go. It is kind of odd that, they would come out with this the same time as Wire's doing their thing, apparently. So maybe this is kind of their last thing, and then Zwire takes over. I have no idea, but this looks kind of cool. I'm not really one for getting these things. I don't know why, I'm just not, but I'm not against it. This looks pretty good, so yeah.
Yeah, I think there are a few other images out there, not too many. I think noticed it was actually there at the convention, so there aren't that many pictures. The one where I got size comparisons from were that in the booth it was kind of next to one of the hardcover Dark Horse books standing up, so it's basically around the same height of the Search hardcover standing up.
Oh wow!
In terms of size, so it's fairly big. Next piece of news is that obviously there were two exclusive pieces of merchandise available at the convention: the Wire Industries special edition shiny Lin PVC model, and also the Avatar Generations art print. I think the prices were $99 and then $79 for the print, so both fairly expensive. But the big problem was the number of each on sale. It wasn't too much of a problem with the art print, in that I think they said there was 300 prints available every day, so well over 1,000 over the course of the whole convention. But with the Lin statue, there were only 20 available per day, and for some reason they allowed it so that people could buy two if they wanted to. And so I think on the first day it was just 10 people in line got two each, and so if you weren't in the top 10, you didn't get one. And then apparently immediately afterwards there were 4 or 5 of them up on eBay for triple the price. So scalpers out in full force at the Dark Horse booth this year. And it seemed like they only brought around 104 or something like that to the convention, 100 to sell and then 4 as prizes for this raffle that they did. So real problem. I think they drastically underestimated demand for this thing. But Greg, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, that's real unfortunate, but that's so typical of when you go to cons and you're trying to get stuff. There's just never enough of it, or they just always underestimate the amount. But I mean, it's good to see that there is at least now they know that there is interest in it. So hopefully next time they won't make that sort of mistake. But yeah, I wonder if it's actually just a mistake on their part, or if it's just the way that they produce them, they just can't produce that many. So that'll be interesting to see when it goes fully on sale for the normal, not special edition one, how the supply and demand of that will actually be. Because I mean, it looks really cool, so I can't see why anyone who who's a fan of Lin or Korra Avatar in general wouldn't want one. So assuming you can afford it, so But yeah, no, that's too bad that immediately they went up to eBay. But that's just how that works.
Yeah, like I can sort of understand like there being a really limited run on these since it is the SDCC exclusive and there is going to be a regular one. I think like as you said, how quickly it sells out. I think next month when the regular one goes on sale will tell a lot about how much the demand is. But I just thought it was very interesting. There were I follow a lot of people who actually attend the convention on like Facebook, and I saw a lot of very annoyed posts after the first couple of days, and no one really getting anywhere near getting one. But Kelly, what are your thoughts on this supply problem at the convention?
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. I can't really. I mean, I'll give them this. Maybe, like Greg said, it does take a bit to make them, and this is a new thing and a new idea. So I understand maybe why they wanted to kind of go with this exclusive low amount of them, maybe. But, like, who made the decision of letting somebody buy 2? That's absolutely ridiculous. And then that makes the scalpers have one for themselves and one to sell for, like, a lot of money. So that's absolutely ridiculous. At least in my opinion, I have no idea. But, yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to be with the regular release of these things. I mean, maybe they really did want to make it, like, special because San Diego Comic-Con, but they did underestimate this a lot. I mean, I don't really know how to feel about this. This reminds me of me when I tried to get the bead out of the bag so I can get Mike and Bryan's autograph. And I failed 3 times, and the line kept growing and growing, and the way that it was handled was just so, like, stupid. Because I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, I'm reminded of that sadness now. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Things happen at Comic-Con. I shouldn't be too surprised. Stuff like this happens disappointingly all the time. So.
Yeah, the only other news we got about the figure was just that there were reviews that actually came out about it, and we now know how many pieces it is. It's you get Lynn's kind of torso and legs are one piece. You attach her 2 arms are separate pieces, her head's a separate piece, and then you attach the overall figure onto the base, so it's only like 5 pieces in total. So I know when a lot of people saw the model kit description, they were worried it would be like hundreds of pieces and you have to intricately assemble it, but no, it's only like 5 pieces slots together fairly nicely. But Troy, any thoughts on this supply problem? Troy? Oh, we lost Troy. Oh.
I didn't even notice that.
I'll try and call him back, but what? How did this happen? I guess I'll just post in the chat for him to. Okay. I guess for now we'll have to continue. Don't know what happened there. Maybe internet problems or something. I guess we'll keep an eye on the chat if he comes back. But let's see, where were we? Okay, so I suppose the next thing to go on to then is the SDCC signing poster for all the that were given out free at the signings. If you could actually got in line quick enough to attend them. The image that we got here was this pretty nice image of Korra and Aang as they look in their respective series, kind of standing side by side in that classic kind of Avatar shot, kind of on a kind of high cliff overlooking the world, basically, kind of what the Avatar does. And Brian, I think, mentioned on a Tumblr post when he revealed this that it's kind of meant to represent the kind of 10 years of Avatar, that these are the 2 shows, the 2 Avatars, and here they are together in one shot. But Greg, what were your thoughts on this poster?
I think it's really nice. Like, it looks really good. Like, I really like the colors and the whole overall composition and just, the whole outlook. And I like, the idea behind it is the 10 years. That sort of makes sense where you have, like, Aang in the beginning and then Korra, I heard, like, last time we've seen her. So that's kind of good that they have that sort of idea behind the poster, which he usually always does. So, but yeah, no, I think this is a really cool poster. And it seems like a lot of people who got it were really happy that they got it, and I see they were signing and stuff. So that's really cool.
And Kelly, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I really like it too. Just the idea of, like, on the left it's like the very, very beginning, and then at the very end with Korra. I thought that was really, really nice. And yeah, the way the lighting is done, the color is really, really good. And it just kind of reminds me of, like, the beginning of their series, how they're both standing on, like, that rock looking outward kind of thing. more with Aang than with Korra, but even so, Korra in the beginning also stands on a rock and looks out. So it's kind of really a cool, kind of like, I don't want to say summary, but like a really good like amalgamation of like kind of what these shows are in a very simplistic form. I don't know. Yeah, but I really, really like it. I kind of wish I had it. It's one of those times where I'm like, I actually want it now, but I can't. So, yeah.
Yeah, like, I think that the first ever image we got of Korra was her on a rock overlooking the world, but we only saw her from behind.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think she was on a steel beam or something, but still, it's pretty cool.
Yep. Next up, I suppose we get into the panel now. That's the main thing, Avatar-wise, that happened. So, yeah, well, I suppose we'll get into a summary of what actually happened at the panel in just a moment, because there was a whole hour long, but most of the reveals only took a couple of minutes. So, I suppose, Greg, overall, what were your thoughts on the panel, like the whole hour of this panel?
I mean, it seemed okay. I mean, it's interesting how they sort of just, held out for the big things at the end, which is normally how the panels go. But, the person who did actually live blog it sounded like, for the most part, it was interesting if you're there. I mean, there might not have been anything, like, amazingly new in the beginning, half or even 2/3 of the panel until later on, but it seems like it was overall pretty. It seems like sort of your typical panel where they were answering questions that were pre-done ahead of time, so it didn't seem like they took any questions there, not that I'm sure of. But yeah, no, it seemed like it was overall cool. I mean, I like Mike and Bryan. They gave a couple of responses for things that we've heard of before, so that was cool. Just to get more of their opinions on things. That's always nice to hear. But yeah, no, it sounded like it was a pretty good panel overall.
Yeah, like, obviously I tried to cover kind of live blogging it for the site as well, kind of compiling information, and yeah, it was a kind of odd panel. It kind of went similar to a lot of the other panels where not a lot happens early on. They just kind of get through a lot of the basic stuff fairly quickly, and I was very worried that we weren't getting like any news from the panel. Then we got the Book 4 art book cover, and then they went into questions like half an hour from the end, and I was like super worried that this was going to be like the worst panel ever with no real news. And so when they did keep that big reveal until last, it was kind of like finally they did it, and it made for like this perfect one more thing moment in the panel that they often tend to do. And it was a big reveal that they kind of needed based on what the rest of the panel was. So overall, I thought it was just a kind of okay panel because, as I said, like really realistically 5 minutes of kind of new stuff and then 45 minutes of treading over stuff we already knew. And for a Dark Horse panel, they didn't really talk about the comics for a lot of it, so I was a little bit disappointed in certain parts of it. But Kelly, overall, what were your thoughts on the panel?
Yeah, I'm going through the writing of it now because I don't know if there was a way to watch it. I haven't watched it.
There are YouTube videos up now.
There are? Okay, I wasn't sure because I was looking through some of them. I was watching other panels from San Diego Comic-Con, so I'm going through your writing of it now. I'll watch it at some point. Yeah, it seems interesting, like everything you mentioned. Like, they didn't really talk about comics too much. I'm kind of writing about your slow descending of hope. Yeah. It's like, you're like, is there anything else? Is there anything else? As you're going down, like, sad, and then it's like, finally, Korra comics! In, like, cap letters. So that must have been really exciting to have, like, that be, like, the final reveal. Which I didn't know that. I thought that's kind of how they opened the panel. But that's kind of awesome. That's how they ended the panel. That's really cool. So, that really leaves things for, like, a big bang. And, the fact that Mike is writing the comics and, they're still looking for an artist, which is kind of interesting. Like, that means that that means they're trying to aim for a more like the show look than a Gurihiru look, which is fine by me, you know what I'm saying? Like, trying to get an artist that draws more like how it looked in the show. So I'll be interested to see what they do with the art. I'm kind of surprised Mike is running them only because, he said he was done with Bryan, you know what I mean? That, he's writing his own novel right now. So it's like, all right, cool. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's great, but I'm saying I hope this doesn't detract from what he wants to do. I don't know. I'm just being silly. I'm happy he's running them. It's just kind of like, okay, that's a lot to put on your plate. I really like the art cover for book 4. It's really cool. I don't know. It's like a kind of a newer image. We haven't really seen one like this where she's like all blue with the Rava in a different angle. It's like, I don't know. I just really like that image. And if the Korra comics announcement wasn't there, I would have been I would have been like you are in the text. Like, really, that's it? There's a photo. That's really, the photo is really cute. I don't know what that is. the 4 with Pabu.
I think it's just a page from the art book.
Yeah. Oh, it's really cute. I really like that photo a lot. I like the drawings. Yeah. So the fact that the comics are like Korrasami related, is like, oh my god, that's awesome. That's literally. I mean, what did I say last podcast? I was like, all I kind of want is Korra comics, but I don't know if we're gonna get that. Here we go. So yeah, I'm super stoked. I was in the middle of work when I got this announcement, and I was like, oh my god! Like, I had to keep my voice down because I was in the middle of doing my job. So yeah. Interesting panel.
Yeah, like as Kelly just said, that my post on the site where I'm kind of live blogging through it really gives you the idea of just my emotions as this panel went on. It just went from just like, okay, they've got a lot of this stuff I expected them to get out of the way soon, so this is going to be like 40 minutes of news, this is great, and then it's just like, they're still talking about the art book. They're still talking about the art book. They've started questions, the panel's over, this is the worst thing ever, and at this stage in my head, I'm kind of thinking of what I'm going to say in my YouTube video reaction kind of thing. So I'm basically putting the best words together to basically bash the panel, and then all of a sudden I just refresh people I'm following. I'm just like, okay, question, and Korra comics have been announced. What? And you can see there all caps and stuff like that. So it was pretty exciting, but. Yeah, the main bits of news that we got here were just the Book 4 art book cover, which is not a brand new image. It's this weird compilation of images in that it's the Book 4 DVD and Blu-ray art print that came in it, that kind of fold-out thing. It's that image of Korra overset over a stock image of the Spirit Portal.
I didn't know that. I'd never seen this picture of Korra before.
Yeah, it comes in the Book 4 Blu-ray and DVD.
I haven't gotten that yet. I only have books 1 through 3. I gotta get the 4th one and do a marathon. Okay.
It's on my wall right now. I'm looking at it. So,
cool.
Yeah. And it's just overset on that Spirit Portal image. But I think it works as a really nice kind of Book 4 cover. The art book covers are usually pretty nice. But
it kind of bothers me that her head is covering the K.
Do
you see that? That bothers me.
Yeah.
They could have just lowered her a little bit.
It could not be. It might not be final, but at the same time, the book is out in just over a month, I think. So I think a month and a half. So they might be printed already. I'm not sure. It could be changed. But Greg, do you have any thoughts on the art book cover?
No, the cover, I mean, to me it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's interesting that it's a combo of 2 other things, but I guess if you haven't got the Blu-ray, and you don't have that poster like I don't, then you didn't even know that it was a combo of 2 different things. But to me it looks pretty cool. I mean, I like the whole pose and how it's set up, so I'll definitely get it eventually.
Yeah, and then with regards to just what they talked about, it really was I think half an hour of them just going through some of the pages from the book, basically here's Korra's Book 4 design and how we came up with it and stuff like that. It was this weird thing where it would have been really cool to hear that sort of stuff before Book 4 came out, rather than what I think we got, which was a post Book 3 panel at the last convention before Book 4 happened. It definitely felt like it was kind of okay, we have to fill in time, so let's go through some of this book. Whereas I'm just kind of okay, I'd like to read the book and find this stuff out myself. You don't need to show 30 pages of it at the panel. But I'm still excited for the book. I have the previous 3 Korra art books. I definitely want to get this one. But Kelly, any final thoughts on any of the art book stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I haven't really been keeping up with that, to be honest, getting the art books. I only have the first one, and I think it's in storage. But maybe at some point, I feel like some point in my life I will get all this stuff kind of together, especially the Blu-ray from the 4th book. I'm I should probably get that so I could watch the whole show again. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I don't have too many thoughts on it. I'm kind of more stoked about the Korra comics, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm focusing on here.
Yes, so let's get into that right now. Korra comics were announced. They're going to be written by Mike DiMartino, though Bryan is going to assist with the story and assist with the art direction once they get an artist, because I think that's probably the most important thing about this announcement. They've yet to choose an artist to actually do the art on this series. But what they did say was that it's going to be basically the same format as the current Avatar The Last Airbender comics. It's going to be a 3-part story. We assume it's going to be the same kind of smaller kind of comic design of the book, 72 pages for each one. And depending on the wording, either the first story or the first part of the first story is going to focus on Korra and Asami's relationship, and also the aftermath of Book 4, including the rebuilding of Republic City after what happened in the finale. And of course, because of no artist and stuff like that, no date was revealed for when this book is actually coming out. And in addition to that, they didn't mention anything about kind of the future of the Avatar: The Last Airbender comics after Smoke and Shadow, so we don't know if like this is going to basically like replace whatever is, kind of just take the role of whatever would be after Smoke and Shadow or what. But the one image that we have to go with this was a kind of basically a GIF that Bryan put together of just Korra and Asami walking out of the spirit portal this time, but they kind of have their arms around each other after their trip, and this was the way they revealed it. It was just a blank thing of the spirit portal, and then as the GIF progressed, obviously they walked out and the Dark Horse logo came up and everyone went wild. You can see it on like the YouTube videos, like people really did freak out when they realized what was happening here. But Greg, what are your reactions to Korra comics and the little bit of information that we got so far?
I think it's awesome. I mean, I know we were all like sort of hoping for that and not really thinking that we would get it the last time we talked about this. So it's pretty cool that we actually, that it's actually confirmed that they're actually doing Korra comics. So like, that was pretty awesome. I know when I was pretty similar to what Kelly's reaction to when I got it, because I was at work too and I was reading it online, and I was like, oh, that's really, but I can't really yell out or anything, even though there wasn't that many people at work that day. But yeah, no, it definitely is pretty cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to see how it'll come out. It's interesting that, like you said, that they don't have an artist, so I wonder what sort of style they're going to go for, if it is going to look more like the show or if it is going to be, closer to Guru style. I don't know. Either way could be interesting, but yeah, no, that'll definitely be pretty cool. I mean, we don't have any date or anything, so there's no, like right now it's just really cool. Like there's nothing really to look forward to as far as like a date or anything. We just know it's happening, which is pretty cool in general. So yeah, no, it's really, really cool. So like, this is really cool.
Yeah, and Kelly, your thoughts on the announcement?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I didn't even really like I said, like at work, I was kind of like, wait, really? Like, you know what I mean? I forgot where I actually read it. I think it was on Facebook. It was on their Facebook page at work around like 3:00. I was like, wait, what? Like, I was like here's the thing, I didn't know when the Korra panel was, so I'm just like at work thinking like I'll go home and watch it then, but I didn't know that I missed it, you know what I mean? So I was kind of like, oh, the panel happened, oh, the Korra comic, so like all these things at once, which is really cool. I'm really excited. I kind of wish we got a date, but I'm not upset about that either. Just the fact that they're announced in the first place is like, yes. I didn't like, what really intrigues me is how closely Mike and Bryan are looking at them. I wasn't sure how involved they would be, considering their own projects, and how they weren't super involved in the Avatar ones because they got Jean Louis Yang and Gurihiru to do it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting how closely they're trying to, at least for now, at least for the first one, like I mentioned, Mike is kind of like writing them and keeping an eye on them, and Bryan is gonna like look over the art when they find an artist. So that interests me. It's kind of like odd because it's like they've said goodbye, but they're still doing this. You know what I mean? So to me, that's kind of interesting. And when they find an artist, I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to be closer to the original show style, only because of this image that we got. Like how it's not like, I mean, I'm assuming they drew it, so maybe not. But I'm very interested in the art style. I mean, I think it'd be cool to have it more like the original. But if it's like a Gurihiru thing, I guess I won't be upset either. I don't know. I have to see. But I'm super excited, and I can't believe that it's focused on the Korra-Asami relationship. I wasn't sure if they were going to shy away from that. You know what I mean? Like, Nickelodeon only showed, the hands and stuff, but this is going to focus. Dark Horse Comics, it's doing the echo thing again. 1 second. Okay, it stopped. Just the fact that they're not afraid to show, like, more of the Korra-Asami relationship focus, because it's kind of awkward. You can't end the show like that and then, like, have comics and then not address that. So the fact that it is amazing. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of kind of other stuff kind of behind the way this was announced, and that when they say it's going to focus on Korra-Sami, I don't think it means like the book will be about Korra-Sami, full stop. That's everything that the book is about. I think it just means that they will have their relationship be addressed throughout the book, and they won't hide away from it, kind of as Kelly was suggesting. I think that was why they basically announced this book in the way that they did with the kind of Korra-Sami reveal, because they knew that would basically get the attention of everyone and stuff like that, rather than, say, just having Korra on the cover or something like that. So I know there's a lot of people worried that it's basically going to be 3 books all about romance. I definitely don't think that's going to be the case. It's just, by definition, they have to address their relationship because it happened at the end, and that's what they're going to do. I also think that this has only been decided very recently, because basically, like, all the information and stuff like that we got right now, they could have literally decided this the day before the panel based on all the information that we know so far. Because Bryan said that he very quickly put together that GIF that is the main kind of reveal thing. It's not like that's the cover or anything. And then they just said really generally, we're going to focus on these 2 characters' relationship and post book 4, and Mike's the writer, we don't have an artist. So it seems like this is like super early. We're finding out like a couple of weeks maybe at most after this has actually been announced. So I don't expect to see part 1 until late 2016. For sure not anywhere near the first half of 2016. This is going to be second half 2016, if not 2017, when this comes out. But Greg, I suppose any further thoughts on what you think they'll kind of do? When do you think they'll announce like the artist and stuff like that?
Yeah, that would be interesting. When will they announce the artist? I mean, I don't know. Who can really say? I mean, if they find one, I mean, I don't know. I wonder if they have, like you said, like, you think that this is something that they sort of just, figured out that they were going to do recently. I wonder, how far they have as far as like a story, or as far as like even if they had like sort of an outline, because I guess that would sort of dictate more, like when they'll officially have like an artist and when they'll actually announce something. Because I wouldn't expect anything as far as like more announcements until they're somewhat far along in their progress of actually like developing the story and maybe even some of the art, just so that they could have like a general outline of when they could actually like put something out. So yeah, I think your estimation of next year is actually pretty good. Yeah, no, I would hope next year, because I mean they have a series coming out this year, so there's no real need for them to rush, and I wouldn't really want them to rush. I mean, I would want the story to be as fleshed out and as organic as it could possibly be, which I mean I'm pretty confident that they will do that, considering they're working on it themselves in some capacity. So yeah, no.
Yeah, I suppose a good way to kind of compare it is just that during this week we did also get 2 projects also newly announced, but like Threadworlds and Geniuses both had like a lot more kind of detail behind their announcement, like multiple pieces of art. We actually got like a full-on kind of synopsis of it, the kind of general idea for what both series are actually going to be about. And both Mike and Bryan mentioned they were working on their respective series for like a fairly long time, whereas I think it says a lot that such a big announcement was kept until like the last 2-3 minutes of the panel, and then immediately after announcing it, the panel was over and they left. Like nothing else was said about it. And I think the reason they did that was because they don't actually have a lot of kind of concrete details in place about this book just yet. But Kelly, I suppose, what are your thoughts on like when this was actually like came about in terms of deciding that Korra comics were actually going to be a thing?
Oh, sorry. I spaced out for a second. No, but I heard you guys were saying. I agree with you guys that this is definitely like, this decision was kind of just made. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like they've been thinking about this for too long of a time. Like you said, they've been working on their own projects for so long, and it's like, they were like, what, we should probably do this. I'm patient, you know what I mean? I could wait for these. I really hope this isn't a rushed job just to get fans satisfied. I don't think they would do that, but I'm just saying, like, the idea that this was a decision that they just made, considering they're working on their own projects, it's like, late 2016, that's fine with me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see the Smoke and Shadow, of course, maybe when that's done, maybe have a Korra comic a couple months after, who knows, but this isn't something that I want them to kind of just do for the sake of doing. Like, I really want them to actually have, like, ideas, and they probably do. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying, like, they are working on their own projects. So it's like we beg so much for this, like, Korra comic idea, but then you realize all the work that it's going to take. You know, and you're like, yeah, this is going to take time, and it's going to take their time. When they're working on their own things, and you're kind of like, So I'm super excited anyway, but I totally get if this takes as long as it does, because they're busy with their own things, and maybe when they find a new artist, they'll be gung-ho, and we'll get some things done quicker, but I don't know. It's kind of a interesting situation.
Yeah, I think that the art is just kind of the key thing here, because, realistically, I think Mike not working on an animation and instead working on a novel series probably now has more time to actually assist with the comics, which I think is why he's actually stepped up as the writer, whereas Bryan is actually doing the art for his series, and he even said that he's probably going to have to get in extra artists for his own series because he probably won't have enough time. So you understand why he's basically just maintaining the same position he's had with the comics the whole run, just as a kind of someone assisting on basically everything, but not like directly involved in the writing and directly with the art. But so I think it's interesting, definitely, that they announced it, but I just think everything about when they announced it during the panel, the lack of information actually revealed, just says that this was only decided very, very recently, probably when they were kind of planning this panel out, because, to me, this is an announcement that you probably could have based a whole panel around, but they clearly didn't have enough in place to actually fill out a full panel. So I think the final thing we'll talk about with regards to the panel is just the lack of mention of anything really about Smoke and Shadow, and also the lack of mention really about the future of the Avatar comics. I think they actually asked a question, what is the future of the Avatar comics, and they just said that in general it's kind of we're kind of going with the one book a year idea, but they didn't really kind of say what the core comics mean to the Avatar stuff, does it replace it or what, but that they just want the comics to maintain high quality and stuff like that, tell a story because it needs to be told, not just to keep it going endlessly. Because I think all they showed for Smoke and Shadow was the cover for part 1 and then one panel from one page of part 1 that we've already seen before, and they just mentioned the date and basically skipped past it. They didn't focus on it at all. And even though Gene Yang was at the convention, he was at SDCC, he even won an award, he wasn't at the panel, which I thought was kind of interesting, that clearly he's not involved in the core comics and they haven't mentioned what's coming next. But Greg, do you have any thoughts on the lack of focus on Avatar comics?
Yeah, no, that is really odd. I mean, you would think that if they did have something, planned for the future, that they would have, at least something to show, or at least, sort of discuss it, or, tease it a little bit. So that is kind of, disconcerting if they're going to continue with the Avatar comics. I mean, I think I've heard a couple people, posting about that they think that there aren't going to be any more, which, from this panel, you could actually believe that. So I don't know. I think it is odd. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if this is the last series, I mean, I don't know, it might be, depending on how this series actually ends, maybe this would be a good point for them to actually end. I mean, I know a lot of us, or we were talking about it before, that we would hope that they would do sort of a time jump and then they would continue on with the comics, but maybe this will be the last series, I'm not sure.
Yeah, if this is the last Avatar comic, at least for a while, I think that kind of hints that maybe this book is going to, fully resolve or kind of explain what's up with Azula, because if we don't know anything about her in Korra time, and we assume the Korra comics won't really mention her because it doesn't really make much sense for that to happen. So this book kind of has to be everything Azula if it is going to be the last Avatar comic, and it puts a lot of pressure on Smoke and Shadow to kind of end the comics off well for the last piece of Avatar, the last Airbender kind of focus we're going to get for a while until they maybe decide to return to it. But Kelly, do you have any thoughts on the kind of lack of mention of the ATLA comics?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that, because if the core comics are really going to be implemented, Smoke and Shadow might be the last Avatar, the last Airbender comic series, and you'd think if that was the case, they would talk about it a lot more, but they didn't. So that's kind of interesting that they didn't. And like you said, it would have to do a lot. Like the Smoke and Shadow series would have to do a lot if it was the last one, because it would technically be like the last Avatar canon thing ever. You know what I mean? Like if this is really the last book, I mean, Azula getting resolved, anything else that's going on getting resolved, like it would have to feel like the end. And if they had plans to do more, and then like Korra Comics kind of got in the way of that, then it's like, ooh, I don't want the Avatar series to get not the ending it deserves. I'm probably thinking like worst case scenario right now, but if that makes sense, like I'm hoping Smoke and Shadow summarizes in a way that's very satisfying, even if it isn't the last one, just so that just in case it is the last one, we could all be satisfied that this is how the Avatar story, the Last Airbender story ends. And yeah, I wish we saw more. You know what I mean? Like I wish we saw maybe like a couple more preview pages or something. You know, I'm kind of surprised they didn't focus on that at all. So yeah, that's my one disappointment with it. I'm still kind of clueless about, other than we did get a lot of preview pages, like those 12 at the beginning, but like, come on, we could have seen like more ideas, maybe a synopsis for other ideas. I don't know. I kind of wish we got more.
I'm really surprised they didn't reveal the Part 3 cover for Smoke and Shadow, which is the only cover we don't have yet. But I do think it's kind of telling that they are looking for a new artist, and if the ATLA comics were over, you'd think they'd just kind of draft Guri-Haru over to be on the Korra comics if they're done with Smoke and Shadow, which may be just that whenever they're in development, it will be at the same time as Smoke and Shadow Part 3. But at the same time, they didn't mention Gene Yang at all. He wasn't at this panel, so is he just kind of gone off the comics after Smoke and Shadow, or is that creative team going to continue at the same time as this new creative team with Mike as writer and some new artists kind of going on Korra? Because I think that would probably be best for the future of the franchise, that we kind of get one Avatar series a year and one Korra series a year. Helps ease the weight between books and kind of just keeps both sides of the kind of franchise going, I think. But we don't know. We'll probably find more information out as time goes on. It does put a lot of kind of, I suppose, attention onto like stuff like New York Comic Con, which is in October. So I think that's enough time for them to maybe find an artist, because I'd kind of be worried if they don't have an artist by the end of the year. Otherwise, I'm kind of been like, okay, it's probably going to be 2017 for this book now. So New York Comic Con might be where they reveal the artist and some more information about this. But either way, I think that the big kind of highlight from this is just that it seems like the whole fandom is at least talking about the comics. I know there's some people who maybe took it a little bit wrong, the way they said that the books are going to focus on Korrasami, and there's a lot of people who don't like that relationship and wouldn't be happy with reading a book that's just 3 books all about that. But I do think it is just going to be one part of that story. But either way, really good reveal there. But we do have more news. Next piece of news is that we basically know all of the posters that are going to be in the Avatar poster collection book, which is coming out in August. So it's actually out in, I think, exactly a month from today. That poster book is out. And we have the image of basically the back cover, which reveals all of the images. And it's a selection of DVD covers and kind of a few in-universe posters and a few kind of art book images, and then a lot of scenery stuff. But Kelly, what are your thoughts on the selection of 20 posters we have for this poster collection?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how poster collections work, but I assumed there'd be more. I'm not like super disappointed or anything like that. I'm kind of interested in when it says like removable posters, like how they would be removed easily so they don't rip, how big it's gonna be. I'm kind of clueless on that front, but I don't mind the actual choices that they have. They're really nice posters. They're kind of the pictures that I thought always stood out in Avatar: The Last Airbender, for the most part. I'm kind of shocked at the lack of Toph. That's like, yeah, I like this for some reason, even though there are images of book 3, this has like this weird book 1 vibe to it. I don't really know what I mean by that, but like, I don't know. They do have my favorite poster on there, which is the one to the right where Aang, Katara, and Sokka are standing on the Ba Sing Se wall with Momo on Aang's shoulder. That's like my favorite Avatar picture ever. I just love that picture to death. It's just so well done. And so I'm glad they have that one. They have the original Aang jumping over the Fire Nation poster, which that was like used in the pilot. That was like day one kind of thing, which is cool. They even have one of like, I'm a huge fan of the Serpent's Pass episode, and they even got like a Serpent's Pass poster, so I'm like, yes. So I'm happy about that. So like I said, I'm actually not upset about the selection of posters that they have. I think they're really cool. I just expected a few more, and maybe like one with Toph or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's my only gripe with it, but I'm kind of wanting this. I kind of want this.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get this. I think we've known for a while that it's definitely gonna be 20. I think we know the size of the book, but I'd be lying if I said I know it off the top of my head. I think the book, each poster is going to be the same size as like a page from one of the hardcover collections. So it's going to be that sort of kind of print size, I think, but it could be bigger. I'm not really sure. And I don't know how they're going to come out. But for me, I think I'm a little bit surprised by the lack of kind of characters. Like over half of these images don't have any characters in them, and they're just kind of scenery, which I'm fine with them having like a few bits of scenery, but when the majority of them are just kind of like background images, it's just kind of like I definitely question a little bit why you don't have like characters like Toph, as kind of Kelly said, or focus on other characters like Suki at all or anything like that, because a few of them like just don't immediately stand out as being from Avatar, just because they are kind of more concept art style pieces and they don't have any of the characters on screen. But some of the other images I do like. I think that Book 3 DVD kind of collection cover, the one that's the cover of the book, is very nice. And then the other 3 DVD covered ones are very nice with Zuko, Aang, and Katara. And then we got the 2 in-universe posters, the Ozai kind of wall scroll thing that appears in the Fire Nation capital and stuff like that, and then the Appa Wanted poster are very nice. And then the only other one that stands out to me is the Aang in the field with all the bisons, which I think is basically established as now being like a canon image, that this happened at some point after the series or something like that they did find this field full of bison, but we haven't really seen that yet or not. But Greg, what are your thoughts on the selection?
I think it's okay. It doesn't really stand out that much. I mean, like Kelly said, I definitely noticed the whole book 1 vibe, which I'm kind of disappointed at, because I would have liked, more stuff from the later books. Especially just not having, like, all the characters. Like, even if they didn't, like, get you, like, one poster dedicated to Toph or Suki or any of those other sort of characters, I would have at least, like, a picture of, like, the whole group together as, sort of they were as the end of the book. Just, sort of the whole final gang. I think that would have been pretty cool. But I mean, all the scenery pictures are really nice. Like, if you know the show, then you'll recognize all of them pretty instantly. So it's definitely nothing to sort of knock on as far as their selection overall. It's just too bad they just don't have more characters. And for me personally, more of the later book designs of the characters, that would have been cooler for me. But I mean, I think it's nice. Maybe I'll get it eventually. I mean, it's not that expensive. I mean, at least on Amazon it says it's like $13. Even the list price of $24.99 isn't that bad. So it'll be pretty cool. And I think they say that it's 12 by 16, so it's not like it's small. It'll be pretty good size. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get it eventually, just if I see it.
Yeah. If that's the size, that's a pretty standard poster size. That looks pretty good. And I think that there's definitely the possibility they could do like a volume 2 of the poster books. They could do a Korra version as well at some point if it sells well. With the announcement of Korra comics, Dark Horse seem to really be of the idea that avatars are one of their big sellers. So if this sells well, they could definitely do more. But apparently Mike and Bryan hand selected the posters that were going to be in this book, so they know more about art than we do. So they made their choices, even if we maybe don't agree. But next up, I'll just go through some of the actual upcoming Avatar merchandise release schedule, because after Zwire Industries' announcement and all this stuff, we do have a bunch of stuff still coming out, actually, for Avatar. So sometime in August, Zwire Industries are going to put up their orders for the regular edition of the Lin PVC model kits. We don't know when that's going to be. They don't know just yet if there's going to be international orders or not. I think they're working on it, so that's going to be a big deal. If it's not there, a lot of people are going to be angry. If it is, that's perfect, and we'll find out about how many they've made and stuff like that. August 12th, 2015, as I just said, is when the Avatar poster collection comes out, so it's not too far away. September 2nd is when the Book 4 Balanced Art book comes out. September 23rd is when Smoke and Shadow Part 1 comes out. October 27th is when Avatar Legacy comes out. December 16th, 2015 is when Smoke and Shadow Part 2 comes out. We don't have a release date yet for Smoke and Shadow Part 3, but I would estimate sometime in March or April 2016 for that. And then I'm just guessing at these two, but mid to late 2016, Korra Comic Part 1 and Smoke and Shadow hardcover, potentially early 2017 as well. So, Greg, what are your thoughts on, I suppose, that's the stuff that we're still waiting to come out. What are your thoughts on that? Like 7 months on after the end of Korra, that we still have this much stuff to look forward to.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, it just shows you how popular the show was, that, there's all this stuff that's still coming out of it. I think that's really awesome. I mean, I don't know if I'll get everything that's on the list, but, for sure I'll get Smoke and Shadow and the Korra comics and the art book. I'll eventually get that. There's just a whole bunch of stuff that's coming out that's, just more stuff to look forward to. So that's always good. Can't complain about that.
Yeah, and also I suppose we're waiting for his Wire Industries announcement. That could fit in there somewhere as well. I assume that they're going to release another figure before the end of the year, but maybe they won't. But Kelly, what are your thoughts on that as the kind of rundown of stuff still to come out?
I had to go do something real quick. I was hoping I didn't miss too much, and then I put my headphones back on, and you were like, "So, Kelly, what's the rundown?" But I was like, I'm sorry. Please repeat that really quick.
I just went through basically the list of all the upcoming products still coming out that we still have to look forward to, despite the shows being over for 7 months.
So just a summary of everything, like the Korra comics, Smoke and Shadow.
Yeah, Avatar Legacy
stuff.
Art book,
The Avatar Legacy. In terms of what I'm most excited for, I'm really kind of hoping I'm still waiting for Smoke and Shadow. I kind of want it at this point. Only because we've known about it for so long, and it's like, come on, we've seen 12 preview pages, let's get that. So I'm really excited for Smoke and Shadow. Considering it may or may not be the last comic series. Of course, I was super happy that they announced Korra comics. To me, I thought that was a long run, a long shot. In my head, when we were talking about it last time, I was like, I hope they announce Korra comics. I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not. And now it is, even if it's very, very early in the stages. So hopefully that all works out. I'm interested to see what Avatar Legacy is going to be like. I'm still not quite sure what it's like. I really like the cover of Avatar Legacy, so I'm interested into what it's really going to be. I never know with these things. But yeah, to hear more of Aang and more of his older stories, I'm always kind of interested in whatever happened to them, when they were older, in the flashback episode of season 1 of Korra, what they were doing. If we get more of that I think that'll be really cool. And yeah, again, I'm not one for merchandise and stuff. What I mean by that is the only merchandise I have of Korra is at New York Comic Con. I bought the cups. And ironically, the air one broke, and I thought that was very symbolic. I was like, the air one's the one that shattered, really? So so I'm not the greatest with merchandise, and I only have those cups. So when it comes to these statues and stuff like that, I'm happy for people who like them. I'm sorry that they only had 20, for Lynn. That's kind of crazy. And then they let them buy 2. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah, that's how I see it all. I just don't really know what else to say. That's basically, I'm super excited that Korra is still going on, and Avatar is still going on, even though the shows are over. It's kind of a shocker to me that I remember when Avatar ended, I was like, is it? It's over. There's gonna be nothing left of this. And my mom was like, Kelly, are you serious? If this many people like the show, they're gonna continue it somehow. And I'm like, no, it's over. I'm just basically being dramatic, and then I'm still here talking about it, so.
Yeah. That's definitely the big difference between the end of Avatar and the end of Korra, that we do actually have stuff to look forward to that I suppose is not the movie. I suppose that was the big thing that kind of brought people back after Avatar, but this time around it's the actual same continuity stuff, so. I'm definitely excited for Smoke and Shadow. We obviously, our last Avatar show, we previewed that, and we just need the book to come out now. And I suppose as the weeks go on, we're getting closer and closer to it. It's not that far off now, so it shouldn't be too long now. I'm definitely looking forward to the book 4 art book. I definitely want to see that stuff when it comes out. Poster collection, probably get that. Avatar Legacy, yes, I have it pre-ordered and stuff like that. I hope the company remembers to send me a preview copy like they said they would, so I can inform people as to what exactly the book is. Like, we know it's going to have like these maps and stuff like that in it, Fire Nation, Royal Family Tree, poster thing, but what's the actual writing of the book about? The pages, what are they telling? That's what I don't know, and no one really knows right now. And then, yeah, into the future, Korra comics, I'm excited to see what they announce with regards to that, and especially what the artist is. So I'm just happy that there is actually stuff coming out. But moving into our kind of, I suppose, off-topic section of the podcast, but it's still kind of related to Avatar, and that is obviously, we kind of hinted at it already, but Mike and Bryan have both announced their non-Avatar projects that they're working on, what they've been working on since Korra has come to an end, and a little bit before that, and we have release dates. We now know details about what each of them is working on. They both have their separate projects and stuff like that, so more stuff to look forward to, and I know a lot of Avatar fans are interested in one or both of these series. So we'll start off with Brian Konietzko's project, and it's called Threadworlds. It's going to be a 5-book graphic novel series published by First Second Books. The first one of these books is due out in 2017, and Brian is going to be doing writing and art on this series. The description that we have, I'll actually read both of them out. The first one is just a very simple one. It's, imagine 5 planets that share a single orbit. Imagine an inquisitive young scientist curious about the world, setting out an adventure across the universe. The more detailed one that Brian said later on was, Threadworlds is set on a group of 5 planets that share a single orbit. The Earth-like worlds are teeming with life, and each has evolved its own unique intelligent species in staggered states of technological progress. The epic adventure follows a chain reaction of scientific discoveries as they ripple from planet to planet. The hero of the story is Nova, a budding young scientist from a kangaroo-like species on the most primitive of the Threadworlds. Stubborn and brilliant, she lives out of step with her superstitious and oppressive empire where girls are forbidden to read and write, but nothing can quell Nova's passionate curiosity and awe of the universe. Her scientific pursuits sweep her up in a thrilling journey that links the fates of the 5 planets and unites the powers of the brightest minds in a pursuit for truth and progress. And we also have a few images to go with this kind of concept art of Nova, her sister, and apparently someone who's going to accompany them on their journey, who's like an older male character of the same kangaroo species. But Greg, what are your thoughts on Threadworlds?
It sounds really interesting. Like, that, out of both of them, I think this is the one that sort of caught my eye more the first time when I first just really quickly read the descriptions of the comics. But yeah, no, it sounds really interesting. The concept sounds pretty cool. Yeah, no, I'm pretty interested in it. I mean, it's too bad that it's so far off, but considering he's doing pretty much all the work himself, you can see why it's sort of so far off. So that just, gives you an idea of how long it takes to actually create things like these. But yeah, no, it sounds pretty cool. I'm glad that, he's getting the chance to work on his own stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. Definitely, of the 2 projects, this is the one I'm more interested in, just because it feels more like Avatar, I think, than Mike's project, but I'm interested in both. But I like that this one's a graphic novel series, and just the concept seems really cool, the idea of these Threadworlds being 5 planets sharing the same orbit, and definitely, like, if the planets are in, like, if they have different states of technological progress, like, how does she then travel from her primitive world to the next one if her planet doesn't have technology? So, like, does that link into, like, what a thread world is? Are they linked in some way by, like, them being in the same orbit and stuff like that? There could be some really cool scientific stuff going on here, as seems to be the case with our main character being a scientist, and the whole story starting on the basis of these scientific discoveries happening, and just the whole idea of just like she's not meant to read or write because of the empire on her planet, and then she's going off to actually be a scientist. It seems really, really interesting, and the art style, even though I suppose we don't have the exact style that he's going to use in the actual panels of the book, it seems really cool. I like the character designs and stuff like that, so I'm really excited for this. Again, definitely 2017 was a little bit of a shock when I got down to the end and read that, and that, like, why are you announcing it this far in advance? Like, I get people are excited because it's Bryan Konietzko, but are they really going to, like, remember this 2 years on? But I assume he will constantly update people. This is going to be the main thing he talks about on this, like, Tumblr and stuff like that as he goes on. So I think people will remember it. But Kelly, what are your thoughts on Threadworlds?
I'm thrilled for this. I'm, like, genuinely super excited for this. When I heard about this, like, I capped letters my Facebook posts. I told everybody I knew. I was like, space bunnies! And now it's kangaroos. I didn't know that. But whatever. I like kangaroos too. But, no, I'm, like, really excited for this for the similar reasons you said, in that, like, it does seem like a very... It's weird because it's a completely different idea, but for some reason it feels like Avatar, and I don't really even know why, but something about it does. And I'm not even, like, banking on it, and I'm not even, like, excited for it because it's similar to Avatar. I just think this is a really cool idea. I feel like if he wasn't writing this, I would probably pick it up anyway. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the fact that he is, I mean, like, drawing it is, like the fact that he is, like, art-wise creating this and like doing everything for it, like really putting like his writing and his art for it, that's going to be really interesting because I'm really like, okay, this is probably going to be the rudest thing I'm going to say ever. I'm clearly I'm a huge fan of Bryan and I love his artwork and everything like that. And the first season of Korra was like really good, but a lot of people had a lot of flack for like his writing ability, and he has come out and stated that he is not the greatest writer like compared to Mike, which makes sense because Mike is writing a novel. But I'm still excited anyway. I'm sure he's learned throughout these years, you know what I mean? And it's going to be really interesting to have the art and the writer be the same person. So I think that's what's really going to make it like its own thing. Kind of like with Legend of Korra. You know what I'm saying? They focused, that was its own thing because it was the writing and the art working together like as his own team. So the fact that he's the only one doing this is kind of crazy but kind of cool at the same time. I guess that's what I'm trying to say out of it. But that's also why it's 2017. Yeah. I'm like, really? But like you said, that what gives me hope about having to go through that wait is him updating it on his Tumblr. Like talking about it and stuff. I'm not expecting like a picture a week. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like something, you know what I mean? He's going to be like, so this is a new thing, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? That's what's going to keep me going probably. But the 3 pictures that we have now are already my phone backgrounds, and the idea of sci-fi, but like anthropomorphic animals and like discovery of space, and I don't know, something about like the cover picture, like the purple and the blue. I'm like, this looks so cool. Like, I don't know, something about the atmosphere and the idea of this looks really cool and interesting. And I'm seriously not just saying that because it's Bryan Konietzko. I'm saying that because I think it looks like a really cool idea. It's like putting all my favorite things together in one. Science, somewhat fantasy because of the anthropomorphic animals and stuff like that. Like, the actual idea of having a young female scientist who's forbidden of doing science because she's a woman, like, that's going to be really cool. Like, if, like, girls pick up this book and they'll feel empowered to do science and what they want to do and feel smart, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up now. I'm excited for this. The end. Done.
Yes. Definitely the idea that I get from this is just that you kind of get the sense that, like, even though Mike was primarily the writing guy on Avatar and Korra, I think a lot of the kind of world-building aspects of Avatar must have come from Bryan, just based on kind of like their 2 different designs here. And so maybe the dialogue and stuff like that won't be as good as, say, Mike's, but you're going to get a really interesting universe with some great concepts in Threadworlds, and I think they're already there just in that description that we have. And definitely there are things he can just straight away talk about. Like he said that he doesn't quite yet have a name for Nova's sister, but he kind of has some ideas, so that might be something he reveals soon. There is that other character that we see in one of the images. He might reveal what his name is and stuff like that. So there's definitely more stuff he can talk about to ease the wait for this. But our other co-creator of Avatar, Mike DiMartino, also announced his project, I think the day after after Bryan revealed his. And he's working on a three-book middle grade series called Geniuses from Roaring Brook Press. The first book is going to be called Geniuses, the Creature and the Creator, and it's due out fall 2016. Writing by Mike, and he's also apparently doing the art for like the covers, and I don't know how much other art is going to be in the book. There could be a little bit extra because it's a middle grade book. So either way, Mike is doing the art on this book as well, so that's interesting. And the kind of synopsis that we have for this one is that set in a Renaissance-like fantasy world, Geniuses explores the concept of art as magic, where an artist's creative genius is actually a living creature, a real-life muse that inspires and protects him or her. Because the leader of this world sees the geniuses as a great and dangerous power, anyone with a genius is captured to ensure he or she doesn't become a threat to society. Many have had their geniuses destroyed and subsequently have become ghosts of their former selves, doomed to a life without direction, inspiration, or original thought. But a talented few are keeping their creativity and their geniuses alive at a secret studio, where young artists like 12-year-old Giacomo learn how to harness their genius's power. But before Giacomo's training is complete, he and his fellow students set off on a life-or-death quest to find the mythical Creator's Compass before it falls into the hands of a rogue artist who plans to use the compass to destroy the world. So, another really interesting idea here. But Kelly, what are your thoughts on Mike's project here?
Yeah, this one seems really interesting as well. But I'll admit that, like, when it mentioned, like, where an artist's creative genius is a living creature and, like, that inspires to protect him or her. There was this movie I saw as a kid, and it has bad reviews, but I thought it was a really interesting concept. It was called The Golden Compass, and it was about human souls taking on animal forms and, like, protecting them. And I'm not, like, I just thought that was funny that those two connected. I thought I'd bring that up. He's not copying anything. I doubt that. This is art as magic, and, like, it's not their soul specifically, but their artistic ability and their creativity that becomes a physical, like, essence. And like the main girl also had like I think a hummingbird, or was it a ferret? I don't know, but I thought it was kind of interesting, that connection, which I always was interested in that film, even though that got bad reviews. So that's kind of why I'm interested in this as well. And it's interesting how it's a middle grade book. I mean, clearly we're older than that, but I think it's cool that he's doing that anyway. Like, it's not really pandering to the audience he had before. You know what I mean? Like, he's doing something new, something he wants to do, and that's this interesting creative idea for middle schoolers, and I think that's really cool. Having a main middle school like aged character, like 12 years old. I'm interested to see how, like, the concept of this is going to go, because it's, like, so interesting that it's almost like, whoa, what? You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know how to describe what I'm talking about. Like, is it going to be one of those things that is it going to get fleshed out on how this actually works, or is it just like, this is the idea and this is the story with it? Which I don't mind either way, to be honest. But I guess I want to know a little bit more, but I guess I could say that about both projects, you know. The fact that it's a book makes a lot more sense because he's a writer. And I think that's cool that it's a novel, something to read. It's different from a graphic novel in that that's like every single page is a drawing. This one's like a written book with every once in a while having an illustration for the kids to see. And I think that's really interesting. I like that they're not going the exact same route. They're both writing and drawing their projects, but one's more about literature and one's more about the art, and that's what they're best at with both. Like, it's just, it's funny to me. This is really interesting, and it's kind of the opposite because it's fantasy. It's like, yeah, the sci-fi, and this is fantasy, so I'm excited for this as well. I will admit I'm more excited for Bryan's just because it's more probably around my age group, and it's a graphic novel, and I am the sucky reader. This seems cool too.
Yeah, like, I really like the concept for this one, this idea that apparently everyone in the world has one of these things that kind of represents their geniuses, their actual kind of genius and creativity and stuff like that, but apparently people who are actually artists and really creative have more powerful ones, and they're being, like, destroyed by... Again, the common ground between both of them is that it seems like both have, like, governments, empires that suppress creativity, learning and stuff like that. That seems to be the common thread between both of them, which is quite interesting. But the concept seems interesting. Just based on the image, it seems like it's going to be this there's going to be maybe an element of kind of like puzzle solving to it, because you see a lot of like geometrical shapes on the cover. The power of this kind of hummingbird-like creature seems to be it's able to like uncover or like scan through stuff or something like that. I'm not really sure. So just that's the kind of idea I get. It's going to be this kind of like adventure, as obviously they kind of solve these puzzles and stuff like this, these quests to get this creator's compass, and there's going to be like, I suppose, some sort of fights as the series goes on or something like that. I'm not really sure, but definitely interesting. Renaissance-like fantasy world should be interesting enough, though maybe Renaissance isn't exactly for me, but for sure I'm going to be buying like at least the first book of both of these series to see what they're like, and I, at the very least, just based on these early concepts, I like both. But again, like Kelly, Threadworlds definitely seems more up my alley, just it being more visual, and in general being more kind of sciencey and stuff like that. But Greg, what are your thoughts on Geniuses?
I think it's pretty interesting. I know when I first read both of them really quickly, I wasn't as interested in the second one as this one as I was in the first one. But after reading, more of this one, and I think there's also like some more information about this one, about Mike's story, I'm actually kind of really interested. I do remember the movie that Kelly was talking about, The Golden Compass, and although the movie wasn't that spectacular, the books were actually pretty interesting. I really did actually like the books. I think there was like 3 books plus a side story that I read for that series, and it was actually really interesting. So if it is more like the books, then it'd actually be pretty cool. And also reminds me of another book I've read, what was it called? I think it was called The Rhythmist, and it was sort of the same sort of concept where you draw and stuff comes to life, but this one seems even cooler because they're actually more physical and more real. So it actually sounds really interested. I think I'll definitely sort of be checking out the first book just to see how it is. I don't know, I think it's just real interesting. I'm just really glad that they're both getting to do sort of their own sort of stories, and they both seem really interested, and I don't know, it just seems really cool. So I'm definitely think I'm going to check this one out for sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just that it seems like, based on the release dates, that Mike's book, the first one of Bryan's book, and I assume the first part of the Korra comic, will be out around the same couple of months. Like, Mike has fall 2016. I assume the Korra comic will be sometime between fall 2016 and early 2017, and then Bryan has like early 2017 for his first book, so it'd be really interesting to see them all kind of stack up against each other. I wonder will there be any competition between Mike and Bryan about like sales figures on their books? I wouldn't say so, because like one is kind of like a comic and more comic store style stuff, whereas Mike seems to be standard bookstore and will be sold in, and it is more for younger readers. But it's still interesting that they're both kind of targeting they're not like super grand in their kind of like who they're aiming these books at, and that obviously only a certain number of people actually read comics and only a certain number of people read middle school books, but we'll see how they do. And definitely there are 2 things to keep track of. I doubt we'll like cover them heavily like on the website and stuff like that, just because it's an Avatar website and stuff like that. But when the books are like released, or we get like massive pieces of information, we'll cover them on the website, and we'll probably keep doing a little bit of an update on the podcast as we kind of go on, covering news about these 2 series. But that's basically all of the kind of Avatar related stuff. So I suppose we'll just briefly discuss some of the other SDC stuff that we were interested in. It's just going to be completely off topic, but Greg, what was some of the other stuff from SDCC that you were interested in?
Let's see, what else was there. I didn't follow that much other stuff, but I did sort of check up on sort of, I guess, what Fox had for like X-Men and their sort of panel, and sort of following that, and it seems like they have some cool stuff coming out for the X-Men in the future, so that's pretty cool. Also, I think the next movie is gonna be like Hugh Jackman's like last appearance in the X-Men as Wolverine, so that's interesting itself. And there was, I'm sure you'll talk about Star Wars, so I won't say anything about that. I think overall the convention seemed like there's a bunch of stuff that was happening, and whatever you sort of were interested in, there definitely was something there for you, so that's always good.
Yeah, myself, I was kind of so focused on covering the Avatar stuff for the site that I I think I either missed or just kind of completely lost track of a lot of the stuff I was kind of looking to follow. So I probably missed out a lot of stuff, but the main things were just like, they released a couple of more videos about the Halo stuff, like the new animated series that's going to be part of like the collector's edition of Halo 5. So that was pretty cool to get to see that. They released some new information about the game, but for me the main thing that I saw that I was interested in was definitely the Star Wars Episode 7 kind of panel and what they did there. They obviously had Harrison Ford make his first appearance since this kind of plane crash landing incident that caused him to, I think, miss actually appearing at Celebration 7, I think it was. So that was interesting to see him with Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill at the panel, and then they obviously had like a big. I think what they did was like J.J. Abrams came out and like announced, we're gonna have a concert. Let's all walk over here together, and like they walked across the convention hall to this place where they had a concert set up, and they were playing music. So that was pretty cool. And then the big thing they showed off with regards to Episode 7 was this like 3 or 4 minute behind the scenes kind of video that was really cool, where they showed off more clips and stuff like that, but it was from a behind the scenes perspective, so we know more of the kind of actors involved, and I think they announced some names for some of the characters as well. But and I think they said the next trailer is not due out until like the fall, so in the next couple of months we'll get the new trailers. So they were the main things that I was keeping track of. But Kelly, what was the other SDCC stuff you were keeping an eye on?
There's so much stuff to for me to look at that I haven't been keeping track at all. I've been a mess with San Diego Comic-Con the past couple days. I'm like, wait, there's Agent Carter, there's Sherlock, there's Avatar, there's this, there's that, and I know nothing. I basically know nothing. I'm like, okay. But I was gonna mention with the Star Wars concert thing, I heard that really screwed over Kevin Smith. No one went to his panel because nobody told Kevin Smith that he was going to do this. So he went out, and then nobody was there. No one. Not one person stayed. That's like the most upsetting thing that could ever happen to anyone. I can't imagine anything worse. But I mean, I don't know these people very well, so I have no idea. But I thought that was kind of like, really, JJ? Really? Like, I don't know. Like, at least that's what I heard about that. What do you call it? So I'm again, I've only seen the first 3 Star Wars, but I am interested to see more of the Star Wars stuff. So I saw that Simon Pegg was going to be in it, so that's pretty cool. He was like in a alien suit and he was excited. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting that Simon Pegg's going to be in the movie. With other stuff that I was interested in other than Avatar, like they had even though Marvel wasn't at the panel, the 2 TV shows were Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and they announced not too much stuff from what I remember. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had a much more prominent thing. They announced, cover stuff, more characters. They're like, it's going to be focused on the Secret Warriors. They covered a lot of different concepts that it's going to be about, which is cool. Agent Carter, I mean, I don't really know what happened at that panel. All I know is that Jarvis is going to be back and Howard Stark might be back, and we got a new poster and the synopsis of the show, which is a famous actress dies or something like that, and she has to discover why it's 6 months after the original, stuff like that, right? So I don't know too much, but the thing that got my attention, obviously, which is good because we're going to be talking about this next week on our non-Avatar podcast, is the Sherlock panel, which released 2 big things. One was the Christmas special that's coming out, that's non-canon universe, with them being in Victorian times, is going to be a worldwide theatrical release, meaning it's going to be in the theaters for you to sit down and watch everywhere in the world on the same day, which is crazy. I was like, what? It's a television show, and they're releasing it like a movie everywhere, so that's super cool. And the second thing was that we got a minute and a half of it. We got a minute and a half clip of it, and of course the internet went crazy. I went crazy. Everyone's crazy. So that was super exciting. And when I chose Sherlock last week for the show, which I don't know, that probably wasn't on the podcast. You probably had to write that down in the description. What do you call it? I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the panel at San Diego Comic-Con. So it's kind of perfect timing. You know what I mean? Now that you guys kind of know about it, there we go. So that's small things I know, but I told you I don't really know anything. I still have to look up everything that I'm interested in and then read it and figure it out. So that's all I know personally right now, but I'm super excited for those things. That and Steven Universe, we got Sardonyx, which that's a long story too, so I'm not going to get into that. So
yeah, there's a ton of stuff I need to kind of go back and look up about just everything that I'm interested in. I definitely missed out on tons of stuff covering Avatar stuff so heavily. But the only other thing I just mentioned is just, again, with regards to Star Wars, we thought the situation with the Lin figure was bad, but apparently what happened was that one of Hasbro's big exclusive this year was the first ever Star Wars The Force Awakens action figure was available as an SDC exclusive. It's just the new Stormtrooper design, and apparently there were like literally fights over people in line trying to get one of these things, and they made obviously tons of them. Like this is a figure that is going to be released when the Force Awakens merchandise comes out, but this is like an early release of it, and like literally there were reports of people punching other people to get ahead in line and people getting knocked over.
Oh my god.
It was pretty crazy, just for this first Star Wars merchandise release. Goes to show how different that Star Wars is compared to everything else, which I suppose links into Kelly's story that she mentioned there about Kevin Smith now having no one at his panel just because Star Wars did something crazy. So just puts everything into perspective. But yeah, that's our brief off-topic SDCC talk. As Kelly mentioned, next week for the Movers Podcast, episode 14, we're going to be doing her fourth choice of show, which is going to be BBC Sherlock. So because of the length of the episodes of these, we're only going to be doing the first episode of this, which is A Study in Pink. It's I think 90 minutes long, not including breaks, because BBC doesn't have breaks, so it's literally 90 minutes of content, and we'll be reviewing that first episode and recommending it and stuff like that. That'll be the show for next week, and I think Troy, if he's there, I don't know what happened to him for this show, he just disappeared a couple of minutes in, will have his next choice of show at the end of that one. And then on the next Avatar podcast, I'm not really sure we're going to plan out right now. Maybe we'll do some speculation about what we think will actually happen in the Korra comics, but we'll decide that closer to the time. Other than that, that's been Avatar Online Podcast episode 112. It's been myself, Greg, Kelly, and Troy was here for a little bit. So thanks for listening to this podcast, and bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You shut it off at the best part.
I thought I made myself clear. I don't want you listening to this distracting nonsense.
Prison break!
You just sneezed and flew 10 feet in the air.
Really? It felt higher than that. You're pretty. Can I have some of your hair?
I have to leave.